In May, a tourism board flew me to Slovenia and asked me what I thought about their venues. And I have been doing this job for about 3 to 4 months. And I spent 8 days asking questions I could barely form in rooms I did not know how to read. And by day 6, I could finally hear what I was actually supposed to be listening for. We just arrived to Ljubljana, Slovenia, and I'm here with the team that invited me. And this is my luggage. My parents run an incentive travel company in Argentina for the last 28 years. And in August, aka yesterday, I became a director for it. In May, when this trip happened, I was 4 months and knew nothing about this. When a company sends 200 people of its best people somewhere as a prize, somebody stands in a room and promises it will all just work. And that person carries it whenever it does not work. And the questions that decide is honestly quite boring. How many people fit when the room is set for dinner instead of a theater? How far is the airport when you have to leave at 7 in the morning and you have 4 buses? What happens when it rains on the night that you plan to do something outside? I knew how to sell software, and I still do. I did not know any of this. The first thing they show you is always the room. And the room is always beautiful. Like, it's hard to find a bad room. I wrote down the marble, and I think for me, what was very interesting was I should have written down how far was the room from the lobby, because that's the walk that people will do 4 times a day, which we tend to undervalue. But sometimes if your room is really far from the lobby, you kind of hate it, because nobody photographs that walk. We photograph the room, and that's all that matters, right?
But it's a multi-function room. We can also do round tables, gala here,
Okay.
or a party with different setups, flat screen, stages, all kinds of things.
Okay.
Here already.
And you have the translation booths there, or the audio. That is the thing a good incentive trip actually does, and it took me until the coastline to actually figure it out. The people who win these trips are actually the ones that never stop. And you're not buying them a hotel, you're buying them their first week in 2 years, when the thing they are worried about stopped being the most important thing in the world. The Slovenian people, I realized, it's very similar to Argentinians. I think Argentina and Slovenia have way more similarities than we might think. And it's basically a mix of culture. So in this room, how many you can host? I didn't get that part.
For how many people?
Yeah, sitting.
267.
267. So when we talk about capacity, the number decides everything downstream. How many buses, how many rooms, whether the gala happens in 1 room or 2, if there's a gala happening for the first place. And 4 months in, and I have finally learned to ask the boring questions first. What was I listening for? Okay, so we're in the spa. Rimske Terme. Beautiful. We just got here. Very sunny. We got 30 degrees. You can see from the back, you have the hotel. I don't know if I can. So we just finished the site inspection of Villa Vipolce. Beautiful, beautiful place, as you can see. And it took me 6 days. Is the gap between the thing and getting to the thing. Because as I said, everybody sells the room. And the room is almost always fine. Like, you might encounter the occasional disaster, but I haven't seen a night horror room yet. I think the trip lives in the 20 minutes before the room and the 20 minutes after. And nobody photographs those. My parents have known that for 28 years. And they never put it in a sentence, because it's like common language for them. I had to get sweaty on a bus in Slovenia to actually hear it. So I always ask myself now 4 questions, and I will do this same 4 every time I do this kind of trips. 1, can it actually hold a group? I think for Slovenia, definitely, it is a small country, but I never felt like there were too few rooms. Like even the smallest hotel I inspected had around 35 rooms, and that is not small. Like, of course, if you're talking about congresses, yeah, definitely not your size. But a lot of incentive groups are exactly that size. 2, how hard it is to get there. Honestly, I thought it would be worse than it was. And I told the Slovenians exactly that. Maybe from Argentina, it looks very far. And I remember there was like a summer where Game of Thrones made Croatia and Dubrovnik popular with Argentinians. And nobody thought that was far anymore. And I think Slovenia is the same distance because I came directly from Frankfurt. It was like an hour flight. So it's not just closer than I thought, but it's better connected than I thought. I mean, let's be honest, Ljubljana is not a big airport, but you can get in from Italy, Croatia, and Austria.
And now we're waiting for the bus in Fogel because we're on our way to Bled. So today we did Nova Gorica with the train to Bochum. We did Vogel, and now we're going to Bled.
3, what will go wrong? The bus. I mean, I don't want to make it sound worse than it was, but it was a little bit chaotic, and maybe it was because I was in Bled and it was a sunny Sunday, so it was busy without being fully summer because May is not the highest peak of summer. But that was enough to show me what high season could look like. And I would say if you're in Slovenia, do not rely on public transport. It is not bad, but that is the thing that Slovenia still has room to improve. So I would say book the transfer or take the taxi or get your own car, just in case.
Okay, so I arrived to Bled. I'm sweaty as fuck. The bus ride was lovely. You saw me how excited I was, but the last bit was chaotic. The chaos. This guy wouldn't let people in. He wouldn't let my luggage out. So definitely, if I bring an incentive group, it would not be with public transport. It was not great.
4, would I put my own name on it? Yes. I think the people were very kind. The food was amazing. The culture is real. And the landscape was better than pictures. And I honestly had no idea how Slovenia looked like. I just assumed it was like something like Austria, but not quite sure how it looked. And I did not expect to find what I found. I do not represent Slovenia officially, but if a brief comes across my desk that a client has and this country fits, I'm putting it on the list. And I think that's what putting your name on something actually means. Like, would I be proud to show this? Yeah. Just for the record, that trip was completely paid for and by the people who wanted me to see their country. You should know that. It did not change what I saw, and it doesn't make me feel biased because it was not inherently a payment to say something good. I just felt very connected to Slovenia, and I think I really liked the experience that I had. But it definitely changed how many doors open because I was treated like a king. So I think the quality and the standard was above the average experience for a tourist, but I think I'm quite confident to say that it's not very wide in terms of the spectrum of what you can enjoy. I don't know where the next one is yet because nothing like the Slovenia site inspection is in my pipeline right now. So I'm not going to promise you a date, but this is not a if, but a when, because I'm constantly going to do this. But subscribing, and I'm saying you, subscribe, because that's the way to find out whether anyone actually wants to see it and this content is relevant for you. But yeah, that will be it for today. So thank you, human, for staying with me. And maybe it'll be until next week where I'll welcome you back to my universe. And yeah, when in doubt, I would actually get that trip to Slovenia. Trust me. Maybe with the footage I convince you. Bye.